Welcome back, and we continue with our focus on the year's biggest election, the election and the fight, the battle for the national capital. This thriller is now turning out to be a contest between the Chanakya of Indian Rajniti, the Chanakya of polls, Amit Shah, versus Dilli ka bada Bhai, as he calls himself, Arvind Kejriwal. From jibes to jumlas and challenges to charges and counter-charges. That's what this election campaign has now come down to in the last leg. Our Chief Minister candidate, Arvind Kejriwal, and BJP leader Amit Shah are stealing all the limelight this election season. Both netas are going all out with guns blazing to win the war for national capital. Almost every day, Kejriwal and Amit Shah are taking on each other on electoral issues ranging from CCTVs, Wi-Fi, water, electricity, schools, to, of course, the controversial ones like Shaheen Bagh and the very latest the issue about BJP not having a chief ministerial candidate. Take a look.
अमित शाह जी का ये कहना है कि वोट मेरे को दो और मैं सीएम बनाऊंगा, मैं डिसाइड करूंगा कौन सीएम बनेगा। तो आपने अगर किसी ऐरे गहरे नत्थु गहरे को बना दिया सीएम, जिसको कोई पता नहीं हो, किसी अनपढ़ आदमी को सीएम बना दिया, तो दिल्ली की जनता के साथ तो धोखा हो जाएगा। अमित शाह जी आए, डिबेट करें, जहां कहेंगे जब कहेंगे, मैं उनके साथ हर मुद्दे के ऊपर डिबेट करने को तैयार हूं।
तो मैं चर्चा करने के लिए तैयार हूं। अरे केजरीवाल जी, इसके लिए मुख्यमंत्री घोषित करने की जरूरत नहीं है। तिथि और समय बता दो, सुभाष भाई आकर चर्चा कर लेंगे कि हमारा मुख्यमंत्री ये दिल्ली की जनता है, हमारे भाई और बहन।
So a big question tonight then, as Delhi election now become more about a war of personalities, and instead of what could have been expected to be between Arvind Kejriwal and Prime Minister Modi, it's actually Arvind Kejriwal and Amit Shah, a kind of a contest that we are looking at. That's the big question. Let's say good evening to our panelists. Anila Singh, national spokesperson for the BJP. Jasmine Shah, spokesperson for the Aam Aadmi Party. Anay Joglekar, senior journalist. King Shukla, also a senior journalist. And Vivekanand Nartham joins us this evening. And let me in fact start with Mr. King Shukla and ask him this question. Mr. Nag, is it interesting that we're not really looking at a direct fight and exchange of words, a war of words between PM Modi and Arvind Kejriwal? Even Kejriwal seems to be focusing more on what Amit Shah is saying and doing.
That's because the change in the structure of the BJP nowadays, Amit Shah is given a lot of importance by BJP, by Mr. Modi. Actually, the BJP party has now been reduced to two leader party, Modi and Amit Shah. And among them, Amit Shah is now being presented forward by Modi. Modi may be doing all the planning and strategizing, but the action is always taken by Amit Shah. So Amit Shah is coming forward. As far as Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, it never had any leader other than Arvind Kejriwal. So it's a battle between Arvind Kejriwal and Amit Shah. That's how it's working out. Now, what's going to happen, I don't know. But the fact is that BJP as a party is no longer that democratic party which was there in Delhi in 10-15 years ago. Even at the national level, you know that BJP has been reduced to Amit Shah plus Modi. And therefore, this is happening. And
yes, but mostly what we see...
Kejriwal party is a one-man party.
Yeah, mostly what we see is it's actually, in many of the state elections as well, earlier, where the BJP is not declared a chief ministerial candidate, they actually go and campaign on the, on Prime Minister Modi's face. And he's the one who actually takes the lead. And the other side always targets him. But strangely, even Arvind Kejriwal doesn't seem to be doing that. Now, do you agree with the analysis that Mr. King Shukla is presenting?
No, I disagree, Tanvi. In fact, what I would like to say is Arvind Kejriwal has sensed something that yesterday's polls did not. I mean, now he is realizing that the Delhi elections are no more a cakewalk. And the Hindutva favor is catching up Delhi, and people are making their mind to make national issues as a prima facie reason to vote for the election in the elections. And that's why Arvind Kejriwal is taking back it to the level of leadership. Like, I am the Chief Minister of Delhi, I am going to be the Chief Minister of Delhi, who is the candidate from BJP. So that looks like Arvind Kejriwal has reconfiguring his strategy. He is trying to include soft Hindutva. His daughter gave some comments. They have included this Rashtra Bhakti in school syllabus. So it looks like that. With coming back to BJP, like I said, since Sahib Singh Verma and Madan Lal Khurana, BJP did not have a leader in Delhi who had a state stature. I mean, there were Sushma ji, there were Arun Jaitley. But now I think after the demise of Arun Jaitley, BJP does not have a leader in Delhi. So they are in the process of doing that. But we have seen in multiple states. In Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis emerged as a state leader. In Haryana, Mr. Khattar, Jagdish Khattar emerged as a state leader. So BJP's strategy is, instead of projecting someone as a leader for chief ministerial face, they are contesting on the faces of Amit Shah, Narendra Modi and Yogi Adityanath.
Jasmine Shah, respond to that. Is it that the Aam Aadmi Party realizes that you can't really take on the BJP on national issues, and the minute you start talking about Prime Minister Modi and what he's been doing, you will have to, give in to that narrative and that debate over national issues. So you would rather ask them the question about, well, who's your CM face?
Well, that's actually not true. Right from the beginning, Aam Aadmi Party has put all issues aside and made sure that this election is about people's issues. We are the first one to bring out actually a report card of what this government has done in the last 5 years. And the CM said that forget Arvind Kejriwal, forget AAP. If you think we have voted, we have improved your lives in the last 5 years, vote for us. If we have not worked, do not vote for us. No sitting chief minister heading into election has ever said that in the last 70 years. And constantly throughout this entire campaign, the people of Delhi are witness to it that AAP has fought a fantastic positive campaign focused on work. We have given 10 guarantees about the future of Delhi, and we put out our vision for the future of Delhi. But alongside with that, who will deliver this vision? Anybody can put together a few statements and say that this is what we think it should happen, though BJP has not even bothered to do that. The leadership matters, and especially in a place like Delhi, because see, the NCT of Delhi is a special state. It is not a regular state, and the chief minister works in a very complex scenario where there are different agencies, different levels of governance, and within those limitations, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal has delivered more than any other chief minister. So the natural question that the people of Delhi have is that who's the chief ministerial face from the BJP side? And since Mr. Amit Shah has been leading this entire campaign, and very smartly so, because Mr. Modi knows that this election is about whether BJP is getting 3 seats, 5 seats or 10 seats. In no scenario they are getting more than 10 seats. He knows somebody needs to take the axe. So put Mr. Amit Shah forward. He has this reputation of a Chanakya, who anyways has lost the last few elections for the BJP in Jharkhand and many other places. So, why don't take another hit? And that's the only reason. But our point today, what the CM said, is a very important statement. He said that the people of Delhi need to hear it from the Chief Minister of Delhi, what their vision is and what their plan for the future of Delhi is. And we gave them 24 hours to declare some face, or at least a list of names. They didn't do that. And since Mr. Amit Shah has been calling all the shots, which is very visible, so the CM actually asked the Home Minister and one of the senior most leaders of BJP that, chaliye, aap aa jaiye. I am game for a nice debate. This is not something that we're going to yell at you. You bring any issue. I mean, BJP, leave it to BJP. They will make even a local election or a Gram Panchayat election about nationalism. But eventually, the people of Delhi are very smart. They understand that this is an election that will determine their Bijli ke bill, their power ke bill, about their healthcare system, about their education system, about their pollution. And they see today only one option, one face, one party that has an articulated, well thought out plan for the future of Delhi. And that is Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal.
Anila Singh, do you want to respond to that and the point that he made in the first half of his answer, where Jasmine indicated that whenever there is a possibility of the loss, you would rather have somebody else take the hit and the blame than Narendra Modi?
I was pretty amused after listening the long speech of Jasmine ji. Just now he mentioned that Arvind Kejriwal ji challenged Amit Shah ji that I am ready for the debate, and rather I'll say that he dared Amit Shah ji that I am ready for the debate, and if you think that you can defeat me, come over. So let me tell you one thing, that we are India and elections are being held here in India, so do not try to copycat American elections. And secondly, who is going to win and who will be defeated very soon, it will be decided by the people living in Delhi state. So there is no hurry about it. And just now you said that for the first time in the history of Delhi state elections, it has happened that Chief Minister, he himself has told people that if you do not have trust in the work which I have done for you, then do not vote for me. So I'm pretty sure that Arvind Kejriwal will be voted out, because I know that the 500 schools he promised, he didn't do it. 20 new colleges, I mean, I can't see even a single college there in Delhi state made by Aam Aadmi Party. 15 lakh CCTV cameras? Come on, we know it very well what is the reality. Then 5,000 new DTC buses. How many buses are there on the road? Even I think the Jasmine ji won't be able to tell it, because I cannot see 5,000 DTC buses. And what about 8 lakh jobs? Where are those jobs? Like every day,
I'll answer each of yours. I'll answer each of yours, and you should also then answer what you've done in the municipal corporations.
You promised 8 lakh jobs. Where are they? Then free Wi-Fi, Jan Lokpal, 1,000 Mohalla clinics. Like Arvind Kejriwal ji, he himself doesn't keep good health, and he's talking about the Mohalla clinic. Then secondly, European standard roads, and we know that how many khadda roads are there in Delhi state. Thirdly, new flyovers. Where are the flyovers? Like, we can give you these statistics that how many roads have been made by central government. What about you? Clean Yamuna. मैं यमुना के पानी को साफ कर दूंगा. And we very well know that like samples were taken from 21 cities, and the worst water was from Delhi state. So they don't have anything to portray. They have failed totally in the report card. So be assured, as Mr. Kejriwal said, that please do not vote for me if I have not done the work. So he has not done the work. What he promised, he will be voted out.
Jasmine Shah wants to respond to that.
Yeah, no, I'm very glad, finally after 30 days of non-stop spewing of hate, violence, language of violence and anger, where all your leaders back to back are being banned by the Election Commission of India. Just today, Pravesh Verma got banned twice. And why did he get banned twice? Because the first time when he was banned, no BJP leader actually condemned his statement. They garlanded him saying कि क्या बात है, आपको ban कर दिया गया, आपने बहुत महान काम किया है. He goes out, makes some more hateful statements and gets banned again. So serves BJP leaders well. Finally, somebody, and I really therefore credit you that you made this debate, at least tonight's debate, about work and what is the work that the AAP government has done. And since you asked me a list of questions, I'll answer some of yours. Please care to answer just one of my questions, and I'll lay it out also. You started with schools and education. Today, any person in Delhi will know and has experienced it that the government schooling system in Delhi has been transformed in the last 5 years. The amount of work, nobody believed 5 years back that government schools can actually produce better results. Today, only in Delhi government schools, you have more than 450 students who are passing JEE exam, IIT JEE, one of the nation's toughest examinations. The performance of Delhi government schools today is better than private schools. 96.3% was the class 12th results, while the private was 93%. Do you know what are the pass percentage in class 12 in Haryana, in Uttar Pradesh? It is all in the range of 60 and 70%, and that is not even CBSE board. Our Delhi government schools have CBSE board. So what is happening today in Delhi government schools is truly magical. And that's only because of the determination of the Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal. We spend 26% of our budget in education. You know what BJP states spend? They spend not more than 10 to 12%. Even in this year's annual budget, as a ratio of the total budget, the education budget has only reduced. Now I'll come to the one question that I wanted to ask you, because you asked about education, you asked about how many schools we opened. We opened 25 new schools. However, we've added 20,000 new classrooms in existing schools. In existing schools in 2015, only 17,000 classrooms were there. We've doubled the capacity of classrooms, because eventually you need classrooms, right? And Delhi being a state where we don't have land, and we were not given land by the Lieutenant Governor, we went ahead and we still solved the problem of spare capacity by building more classrooms. Answer one question. You're in rule in municipal corporations of Delhi for the last 15 years. The entire primary schooling system comes under you. How many schools have you built in the last 15 years?
I have a simple question to ask from you, that why 46% of your education
No, no.
of your
First, answer my
education
question.
budget
I have answered your
has
question.
been
You ought
returned.
to. You can't
It has
evade
not
the
been
answer.
used. So I know, no,
You cannot evade the answer, madam. Please answer one question and I'll take more questions.
We are not projecting anything. We are not projecting anything. But you claimed, your party claims, your leader claims that we have done excellent job in education. So my simple question is that if you have worked so well in education sector, then why 46% of the budget has not been used? I need to understand that. When there was no money deficit, money was there, why it was not
Madam,
utilized?
okay, I'll answer that.
Do you have an answer for that?
So this is a complete and plain lie. First, but let me put it on record. You were asked a very straight question. We have governed Delhi government only for 5 years. You have governed for 15 years. Still, you're embarrassed whenever somebody asks you about your track record of municipal corporation. Now, I'll tell you the answer because you may not even know the answer because BJP doesn't even tell its spokesperson what it does with its schools and healthcare facilities. 109 schools have been shut down by municipal corporations of Delhi only in the last 10 years. In 15 years,
you
the
have
numbers
not
may be
replied
even
that
greater.
why
Do you know, madam,
46%
that
of
in
your
100
budget
schools of
for
North
education
MCD,
has
there are
not
no
been
desks.
utilized?
Children sit on floors. In the national capital,
Sir, I asked you a simple question and you are not able to reply me.
Okay, if I can just come in here.
North MCD for the last 15 years, in 100 schools there are no desks.
You don't have answer.
If I can just come in here and simply make a point. Jasmine, 1 minute.
You are not able to answer and you yourself has admitted that
The Aam Aadmi Party is not answering about the unused budget and the BJP won't answer on the state of schools of the MCD, the municipal corporation in the national capital. I think the viewers have understood that aspect. Now think about this.
I'll answer every question. I'll answer. Let me answer the unused budget.
Yeah.
No, I'll answer that.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
See, I'm very happy to answer, but let this distinction be made out that BJP spokesperson will answer no question on anything related to MCD because they have done nothing in MCD. You asked about the unused budget. You know what was the last year's budget of Delhi government on education? 15,600 crores, okay, which is 26% of our budget. All across the country, only 10% is spent on education. We spent 25. Out of that, 85% was spent. Close to 14,500 crores was actually spent.
From 15,000 crore of rupees, what you have done?
There is no basis to most of them. They are only invented in BJP headquarters and spoken on camera. They are never there in public domain. All these numbers that I've quoted
absolutely not, Mr. Jasmine. Absolutely not. Just now you admitted only 20 or 25 schools have been constructed and the majority of the money has gone back. You did not
must be ashamed that in the national capital in 2020 you don't have money to spend on desks for your children. Your children are sitting on floor.
Okay. Now we're going in circles. I'm going to ask both representatives to take a deep breath. Just imagine, Mr. Vivekanand Nartam, if this was, the content of a debate that was being held between Arvind Kejriwal and Amit Shah. Imagine if Amit Shah actually took up Arvind Kejriwal's challenge and then both of them on a stage got into a debate and then took it, issue by issue, education, healthcare, infrastructure, security and law and order. Mr. Nartham, imagine that kind of a scenario. Should that be something that political parties start looking at?
Tanvi, you mean Amit Shah and Kejriwal, you're saying?
Yes. I'm referring to the challenge now, that has been put out by Arvind Kejriwal.
Question is this. See, Arvind Kejriwal has been putting such challenges from the start of his career. That's nothing new. He decided to challenge the Prime Minister in Varanasi and he fell flat on his face, and that's, Is
that why you think he's not challenging the PM anymore?
He conceived national ambitions. Yes, definitely. He conceived, I must put this thing in perspective, that he conceived these national ambitions of coming to power in Punjab and Goa and some other states and projecting himself as a prime ministerial candidate, and at each count he so miserably fell flat on his face and decided that it was too much of him to expect to project himself as a national leader. And another thing, he generally claims that they are not deciding on the the chief ministerial candidate and other things. When Mr. Kejriwal was projecting himself as a leader, a national leader, did he even declare the chief ministerial candidate in Punjab or in Goa? He did not do. Other comrades, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, Dr. Yogendra Yadav. I studied in Jawaharlal Nehru University. The professor in Jawaharlal Nehru University, his name is slipping out of my mind, but all of them were removed from the party because he found them as the challengers within the party. And even for that matter, Kumar Vishwas now. And then that another journalist. So all these people who could, stand as a challenge to him, he removed them. So he should not say that there is a democratic functioning and say that, there is a high command in other parties. That would be, too naive or too dishonest of him to say certain things. Another thing, I must say, Mr. Kejriwal and his the spokespersons of his party, they are doing commendable job, and they are selling certain things and certain narrative in such a fashionable ways that they have caught up the minds in the the minds of the public in Delhi. If that wasn't a case, I think 6 months ago or 1 year's time ago, why he decides embarks on distributing freebies to people, like pilgrimages for the older age people, the free bus tickets to women, and then most importantly, he also decided to give free passes to travel by the railway. And Mr. Sridharan, who happens to be the founding father of Delhi Railways, he then said he had to come and he had to say that please don't destroy the entire functioning of the railways in this in Delhi. So these are some of the things, but must again, to put the things in perspective, his spokespersons and he himself, they are very good commentators. They can put things in a very fashionable ways and that catch the minds of people. There is no doubt about that. Another thing, as Mr. Joglekar was also putting, I believe, yes, there is no leader who can challenge the kind of charisma Mr. Kejriwal has created in Delhi. And that is one of the disadvantages that BJP is facing. And that is why we think, the opinion polls that we have witnessed in the recent past have shown much of age to Aam Aadmi Party. I myself am teaching in Delhi University as an assistant professor, and there are certain colleges in Delhi University which are jointly funded by the Delhi University and the Delhi government. Because of the lack of funds, some of the teaching fraternity is not getting their salary for a very long time now. So this is a case at the,
so exactly
20 colleges
for this
and
reason
some colleges,
is what I said, Mr. Nartham,
he would open. That hasn't happened.
That if we are saying that for some reason BJP has not been able to find even one single leader that they can put up in the national capital, perhaps they burned their fingers the last time around with Kiran Bedi and they don't want to experiment anymore. But they found leaders elsewhere. They found Devendra Fadnavis and gave him the opportunity. They found ML Khattar and gave him that opportunity. Why is it that in Delhi, it is Amit Shah then who's taking on Arvind Kejriwal? I'm trying to understand that.
No, Tanvi, I also, as I now pointed out, and I agree with Mr. Joglekar's comments, that it's a trial and error method. Certain ministers have proved themselves, certain chief ministers have proved themselves. For the first time when in the Maharashtra, the elections were being fought, Mr. Fadnavis was not projected as the chief ministerial candidate, but after 5 years of his successful tenure and the way he handled the matters in the state of Maharashtra, the leadership at the center, the central leadership was quite confident about his prowesses, and then they projected his leadership. Sometimes, they became successful, and in case of Jharkhand, Mr. Raghuvar Das, he did not prove to the, the confidence that was put in him. And in the same case with Mr. Khattar in Haryana, Mr. Khattar
Okay,
was
okay,
projected
okay,
as
good.
the chief minister
Interesting,
in cabinet,
interesting
and he
point of
proved
view.
himself.
And let
So
me ask
that-
this question to Anay and then to Mr. Kingshuk Nag. Anay, so here is the other side of it to say, well, Raghubar Das didn't work. Devendra Fadnavis obviously at some point did not work enough to get the BJP back. Khattar barely scraped through. So this time they've decided they're going to bring in the big guns from the center led by Amit Shah.
No, I disagree with this.
No,
Devendra
I did
Fadnavis
not say
did
that.
work. Okay, after the election, Shiv Sena betrayed BJP. That is other point. What I'm trying to say is that if you have, I would like to take back to this Cambridge Analytica model, and where this Alexander Nix and Kogan, they have developed like people vote for their aspirations, at the same time people vote for because of their fears also. Fears are real or they can be imaginary. I don't think that BJP has taken up all these issues of nationalism and Hindutva for Delhi elections. Delhi is probably the most politicized state in India because it is a national capital, it is a home to national media. So people in Delhi are more political than many other people in the country. I would like to refer to Yogi Adityanath's speech 3 days back. He said that in the first term of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he focused on delivering basic amenities to people, whether it is gas connections, whether it is toilets, whether it is direct benefit transfer. But in the second term, particularly when BJP has got crossed 300 mark, and together with NDA it has crossed 350 mark, and it has somehow secured majority in Rajya Sabha, it has taken up all the issues which are close to its hearts even from the beginning of Jana Sangha, not just BJP as a party. And obviously, when BJP has started taking all these issues, the opposition parties have tried to create a kind of a mahal like what BJP is doing, whether it is Article 370, whether it is surgical strikes, whether it is triple talaq, in a way that it is in a way 1934 Nazi party doing in Germany, whether it is like BJP is becoming too nationalist, and this is all these measures are anti-Muslims. So like Pratap Bhanu Mehta has written in his article, they were expecting that BJP will either try to suppress these sentiments or BJP will tolerate it. But what BJP has done, opposition was trying to stoke fears in the minds of minorities. BJP has waited there, and it is using that reaction to create these fears or apprehensions of the majority community, and now that has started showing up in the last 7 to 10 days, and Kejriwal has taken note of it. And that's why, I mean, these debates happen in presidential elections, but they happen 6 months, 9 months before the elections. You don't have a debate 48 hours before the end of the poll. So because Arvind Kejriwal could have urged people to have this debate 2 months back, people have accepted that, yeah, this is a genuine proposition. But just 48 hours before the elections, one request to have a debate, that makes me think that Arvind Kejriwal has shaken up and he's trying to re-strategize in these elections.
Okay, you're suggesting that something has happened in the last 2 weeks, perhaps that seems
Tanvi,
to
I
have
just wanted
changed,
to make one
the
small,
sentiment on
comment.
ground. Yes, I just want to also point out, those are the visuals that are coming in from Sarojini Nagar, where Arvind Kejriwal seems to be holding this roadshow right now. These are live visuals that we are bringing to you from the national capital. Yes, Mr. Narkam.
Yes, I am, to an extent, I am in disagreement with Mr. Joglekar's comments and his analysis of things. You know, he compared this entire strategy of BJP with the Nazis, and I don't think we need to. I myself am into a teaching fraternity, but we don't. I think I'm of the opinion that we should not try.
No, actually, he's not.
To the theories
No, Mr. Nartham, he wasn't comparing. He was suggesting that this is the kind of narrative that the opposition parties are selling. He's not doing that. He's saying that this is what the opposition parties attempted to do to create this fear psychosis about the BJP, and the entire right-wing supporter group that they have. So I just wanted to clarify that. Mr. Kingshuk Nag, do you agree with what Anay Joglekar is saying here? You wanted to make a point? Go ahead, please, Mr. Nag.
The point is that people are debating the wrong things. It was quite clear that Mr. Aam Aadmi Party would win this election, but in the last 1 week, things have changed a lot. Of course, it's quite possible that Aam Aadmi Party will still win because of this threat from BJP. BJP has also gone hyper now because they realize they're going to lose, and even your exit poll shows that. So the battle has become very intense, and therefore all parties are taking recourse to all sorts of things. And that is what we are seeing in the last 2-3 days. Because I think Mr. Kejriwal was sitting very happily thinking he'll win. But now Amit Shah has come into the picture and he wants to give him a battle and ensure that he does not win. And as the data shows, the difference between the two parties have narrowed down. So they will try for 1 or 2 days more, because I think today only 1 or 2 days of election campaigning is left.
Yes, it
So
ends
that is
tomorrow
what
evening.
BJP is trying to see if they can chip off. Yeah, so there's 1 day left. So they will try to ensure that they chip off the support of Aam Aadmi Party. What will happen ultimately, we don't know, but it seems that Aam Aadmi Party is still leading.
Yes.
And if and in 1 day is too little a time for BJP to chip off the support. And that's the fact.
Well, yes, now data seems to suggest that, but we don't know actually, because even the survey that we put out yesterday
60 seats.
Was carried out between 27th of January and 31st of January, suggested that Aam Aadmi Party was way ahead. Of course, after that, a lot has happened in the first week of February itself, like Mr. Nag is also pointing out. So we don't know to what extent will that change a voter's mind. But definitely the BJP has managed to shift the conversation from simply talking about schools or mohalla clinics to actually talking about Shaheen Bagh, and then bringing it to the conversation that they are very comfortable with, which is being about supporting the country, security of the country, nationalism and patriotism. Is that going to work, or will the Aam Aadmi Party's insistence on keeping it about the local issues, on talking about the Chief Minister and not the Prime Minister, on talking about what matters to the people in Delhi, will that work? On talking about their own report card. And Aam Aadmi Party actually has been very, very vocal about coming out and speaking about the work that they have done. Is that going to work? Well, we'll only find out on February 11th. For now, I'm going to thank all of our viewers for joining us on this debate. There's a fire that's broken out in a residential building in Mumbai's Malabar Hill area. 8 people, including 3 women and 5 men, have now been rescued. No injuries have been reported so far. However, there are many who are feared trapped in this building. The fire is confined so far to the 5th floor. It is actually a 14-floor building in Malabar Hill area in South Mumbai. And these are the visuals that we're getting to you as firefighting operations continue. It is feared that there may be people who are still trapped inside. Some of them have been rescued. 8 of them have been rescued. 8 fire tenders along with 7 jumbo tankers and 4 ambulances have been rushed to the spot. Well, India today showed its military strength in the 11th edition of the Defence Expo that is being held in Lucknow. Prime Minister Modi, UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, and of course the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh attended the inaugural ceremony.
आज इस डिफेंस एक्सपो का आयोजन लखनऊ की भूमि पर किया जा रहा है।
मैदान जंग के हालात इस प्रकार है। दुश्मन की एक टुकड़ी ने इलाका वृंदावन।
Welcome back, viewers. We are now going to put the spotlight on a debate that's gone on forever. It's a debate about the presence of women in our defense forces, the kind of roles that women officers, women soldiers should have in any army, air force or navy. Now, of course, it's not a new conversation. This has gone on forever, but there is a new context to it. There is a news point to it, which is why we thought perhaps maybe now as we enter 2020, we should look at the situation one more time and where everybody stands, especially when you talk about having women in combat positions, in combat roles, women leading soldiers in the army, women commanding units of hundreds of troops in combat posts. That's the big controversy that has now erupted. And this has happened again because the centre has submitted its stance and its view on command appointments for women officers in the army. Now, essentially, viewers, this case dates back to 2010, where Delhi High Court at that point of time had allowed permanent commission to the short service women officers in Air Force and in the army. The permanent commission then puts them at par with male SSC officers with all the benefits as well. Centre then went ahead and filed a plea in Supreme Court challenging this. After that, as the case went on, today the focus becomes the argument note, the note that has been submitted by the central government to the Supreme Court opposing these basic demands. Now, here is what the government's note, which could also be the army's view, essentially says why women cannot be in commanding position, commanding rank at combat posts. Now, this says, reason number one, there are inherent physiological differences between men and women. And essentially saying that the standards that have been set for the physical capacity of women officers are much different from those of male officers. But when it comes to a combat role, a warlike role, you know, in difficult extreme situations and conditions, then it becomes tricky to have women officers there. So the physical capacity of women officers is a challenge. Now, this is the interesting one. The note says that women officers in a commanding position, in a leading position, in an all-male environment will have peculiar dynamics. And that often soldiers, the troops, who are not mentally schooled to accept women commanders may cause a problem. The fact that the soldiers, the 400, 500 soldiers who may be part of a unit that a woman officer is commanding, will probably not want to take instructions from a woman because of the background that they come from. That women officers lack combat exposure in the form of infantry and Rashtriya Rifle units by design, by how it is in the army setup right now, and so it will be difficult to give them commanding positions. And lastly, that despite all of these challenges, this gets accentuated by the fact that there are challenges of confinement, of motherhood and child care. So the big question I guess we are asking is, are we still in a scenario where we believe that women officers in the army cannot have commanding roles, leadership roles? Why won't male troops accept women leaders? Let's say good evening to Anila Singh of the BJP, Aishwarya Bhati, senior advocate who's linked to this case actually, and former Indian Army Chief General VP Malik also joining us this evening. Good evening, General Malik. Before I come to you, I actually just want to go across to Aishwarya Bhati to explain this case a little bit more, to our viewers, Aishwarya, of how things stand right now as far as, role of women in the Indian Army is concerned, and what is it that you're fighting for?
Well, you recapitulated the story in the beginning, this was a judgment that came in March of 2010 by the Delhi High Court, where Delhi High Court specifically directed that, they said that women service commission officers, they are entitled to permanent commission at par with gentlemen officers in the streams that you are taking them as short service commission officers. So court said that, in the combat roles, we are not going to interfere with the policy decision of the government that you don't want to take women officers in combat roles. That has to be a change of policy. It will come when army is ready. But otherwise, where you are giving them short service commission, you have to give them. Now, this note is something that has been handed over from the side of the Union of India during the course of the hearing yesterday, because the policy for grant of permanent commission for women officers, short service commission officers, has come in February 2019. Now, that policy, specifically says that women officers who are granted permanent commission will be confined to staff appointments only. Now, that is one portion of the policy that we are very strongly challenging before the Honorable Supreme Court. You were right in pointing out that I do have the privilege of appearing for a large number of women officers in before the Honorable Supreme Court. So the points that we are highlighting is that women officers, the decision to take them in Short Service Commission was taken initially in 1992. Today is a time in 2020 when these women have been in the system, in all these roles in army. They are not in combat roles, but they are in combat support roles. And in those roles, they've been there for last 27, 28 years. And they have been in command positions. See, command as a commander comes to you at the rank of the colonel. So what is sought to be denied to them, they've already been in the system. They've been performing the roles at the, shoulder to shoulder with their male counterparts. And they have been, there have been amazing stories of courage under fire by amazingly courageous women officers. So today, having proven themselves in the system, if the same kind of narrative comes from the side of the government, despite taking a policy decision of granting permanent commission, then it absolutely shocks us. In the time of the constitutional interpretation to gender equality, this is absolutely unacceptable, and that is how we have argued it before the Honorable Court.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. Let me ask General Malik what his view is. General Malik, like Aishwarya Bhati was pointing out, we took the decision of inducting women and Short Service Commission in 1992. It's now time to move on and take it to the next level. Do you agree, or do you think we are still not ready for that?
No, I think we are not ready for the combat roles in infantry, in armored corps, mechanized infantry, etc. But otherwise, I think gradually we are getting ready. Let me, at the outset, dismiss this argument that the women cannot command units. I don't accept that. I have seen women commanding the units. We have had, even before 92, we have had doctors and nurses mixing with the, looking after the soldiers. And this whole thing that the soldiers will not accept them is quite nonsense, frankly. And a woman who has been a company commander in a unit, whether it is engineers or signals or army aviation, etc., in that case, I see no reason why she cannot command the battalion. I think we are trying to belittle not the women, we are trying to belittle the men. I have full faith, and what I have seen of the men is that they accept any officer, whether it is male or female. I mean, this is what I have seen in the units also. So I don't accept that argument. But as far as the permanent commission is concerned, I think this lady has already pointed out, with effect from April onwards, this year, April, they will be getting opportunity to get permanent commission in the arms, combat arms and combat support arms, wherever they are. There are about, I think, 11 combat support arms and supporting arms in which they will be getting permanent commission. And I see no reason why they cannot command the units once they grow up in that.
But is that what's happening? Because I'm reading this note, Aishwarya Bhati, and this note actually says existing physical fitness standards of women officers are distinctly lower than their male counterparts. Composition of rank and file being male, predominantly drawn from rural background with prevailing societal norms. Troops are not yet mentally schooled to accept women officers in command of units.
Well, Tanvi, it appalls us also equally the way it appalls you. I think the topic, the heading for today's discussion that you have kept, the Ladki Hai syndrome mindset, I think that very aptly describes, the boogie that is being raised. That's what we've tried to highlight before the court. This argument in 1992 as an argument to keep women out could have still been a reasonable argument. Today, women have proved themselves. You heard General Malik. Women have been commanding, the medical arm from the beginning. They have been part of the ANC. And, as company commanders, they are actually in the front line of the arm that they are in. There are 10 specializations that women are currently serving since 1992 in the army. And, as company commanders, as the initial ranks, as captains and majors, they're actually in the front line of the action anywhere. And they have, they have imposed to very difficult areas, frontline areas, Kargil, Siachen. There are amazing stories. You know, the Colonel Mitali Madhumita is the first woman officer who was granted a Sena medal. She's an education corps officer. This Sena medal, which is a gallantry award, was given to her, and her citation reads that in the face of a Fidaiin attack on Indian embassy in Kabul, where she was posted, she ran in the eye of the storm, and she was responsible for saving 19 lives. So women have proven themselves for the last 27, 28 years. They have been there in those roles. And now to say that, okay, we'll grant you permanent commission, but we will make you second-grade citizens or second-grade army officers in the army and not grant them commanding positions. I mean, that just doesn't stand the strength of scrutiny after 28 years, and after the government having decided to grant permanent commission. How can this discrimination be brought in now?
Okay, General Malik has a point. Go ahead, please.
No, as I was saying that, you know, I have seen even now, there are Major General lady officers who are commanding big hospitals. And if any young officer, a lady officer, she has grown up in signals or in EME or in AOC, in all these, and she's held all the junior appointments, frankly, I cannot see any reason at all why she cannot command that unit. You see, the problem is only of the combat arms, as I said, infantry, armored corps, mechanized infantry, etc. But in the others, I believe that they can command, and all these other arguments which are being cited today, that they have to bear children and all that, I don't quite accept it. As long as we can provide them proper shelters, and I think except for the infantry, armored corps, mechanized infantry, etc., everywhere else we can provide them proper dugouts or proper facilities. And I see no reason why they cannot command. You see, in private sector,
yes,
we have so many CEOs today, and they have to deal with men. So, as I said, well, let us not belittle our men.
Yes.
Because this argument is not belittling women, it is belittling our men. And I trust them, and I know that they will not do anything wrong.
Well, General Malik, I'm sure Aishwarya Bhati and Anila Singh will actually both agree with me that even in the private sector and many other parts, it is still a challenge for women, to get what they deserve in the leadership roles. But it's changing. And if it's changing in the private sector, like you said, it should also be in our forces. Now, I know you referred to it, but just for understanding's sake, if a woman officer, is physically fit and strong and capable of in every other format, to be a doctor, in field areas, in war zones, and to be at the front line taking care of the soldiers. If a woman pilot is fit enough and strong enough mentally and physically to be flying, the helicopters in Siachen glaciers, to be actually fighting jets, then why is it that you believe that we are still not there where they can be in the infantry or in the armored forces?
Yes, because of the lifestyle that we have in the infantry, armored corps, and mechanized infantry during the combat. The lifestyle there requires people living together in a bunker. For example, the infantry in Siachen, 8 or 10 people will have to live in a bunker, including an officer. And there are no facilities of separation, etc. It is not possible to provide them. Similarly, when the tanks go out, then the crew of that tank, they have to either sleep inside the tank or under the tank, and again you will not be able to provide them. So the lifestyle that is followed during a combat, that will not permit women to join these people. At least socially, it will not be acceptable today, as I see it.
Okay, let me get a response from Anila Singh of the BJP. Do you believe, Anila Singh, that perhaps it is time for the government to rethink its policy and its position? You've heard both of our experts on this issue.
Tanvi, not for a second anybody can challenge the type of mental and physical strength women have. Not for a second. But at the same time, as the government has answered in Supreme Court that still Army is not ready for the women in the direct combat commanding post. But they didn't say, like government didn't say that we are not going to do it. They are saying that still like boys in the army, they are not ready for it. So definitely this is one government, this is one political party who has given first full-time women defense minister to this country. So we believe in the strength of the women. And we do not underestimate them. And I mean, if we talk about the women, we have seen the example of Tarni, the all women in Navy.
Yes.
Like they had covered globally, they had sailed. So definitely we do believe it, and we know that few countries in the world, like if we talk about Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, like they allow their women army officers to fight directly, like on the front line combat positions. But there are many, including United States, they do not allow women to fight directly on the frontline combat positions. So I think India will do that, and we are on the path of change, and we should have trust and faith in Narendra Modi ji, a person who can give first full-time defense minister, women defense minister to this country. Definitely he is going to bring many more changes in the future.
Yeah, I know you're saying that.
I just have to say this much only.
I know you're saying that, but and it's great that we have a woman finance minister, and we have a women defense minister and external affairs minister, that we have women leading from the front, you know, in our Republic Day parades, in the Army Day parade that also took place. But the conversation here is about this note that has been submitted to the court. And this is as latest and updated as it gets. And here the government is presenting an argument about the factors that were considered when they formulated the policy in February 2019. So I'm not talking about an age-old rule or a thought process. We are right now discussing what's happening right now, Aishwarya Bhati. And one other interesting aspect here is the argument presented also is that, well, in Indian Army, you don't have women troops, you know, in the lower ranks. So perhaps if we had, so it's not right to compare it to other nations where that is the case, and so perhaps it's easier for women in commanding positions because here it's an all men, all male dominated environment.
So a few things, Tanvi. Balakot strike was not too far back. While the whole nation remembers Wing Commander Abhinandan and he brought great glory to our nation, you know, there was a squadron leader, Minty Agarwal, who was the flight controller, who was, directing the dogfight that was happening, and she was awarded the Yudh Sena medal for that, the same very exercise. So the conventional warfare is changing very, very fast. It's not, and in the coming years and the coming decades, there won't be, dogfights happening all the time. You see, drone attacks have taken over the air superiority, the missiles, and they're all from the, back end. So the face of the warfare is changing very, very rapidly, and women can play a very, very effective role there. Now, one thing that I must point out, Anila ji is wrong where is that today the discussion in the court or what is there is not about granting, combat roles or combat commanding positions in combat arms to women. The policy today, I think it's nothing more than the bureaucratic mindset that though the policy has come of grant of PC, but they are saying they will confine it to staff appointments. So it's not like including women in arms they are not there. And, it's about giving them commanding positions in the posts, in the specialities, in the arms
where
they've been here for last 27, 28 years.
Correct.
And look at what Indian Air Force is doing. We have women officers as, fighter pilots. They've been inducted.
Correct.
So we don't have to look to other countries. Our own country and our own women have proven their mettle in combat roles very, very effectively.
Okay,
let's
so
look at them and let's call a spade a spade. We can't allow this mindset.
Yes, I'm completely out of time, but General Malik wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Firstly, I want to tell you that in the Corps of Military Police, today we have started inducting women even at the lower rank.
Yes.
So you will now have women at the lower rank as well as at the, when they are promoted as officers and so on. So that is happening. And the secondly, I totally agree with Ashwarya Bhatti that the nature of warfare is changing. And I think this change in the nature of warfare will allow more women to join the armed forces and also be in a position to command units after they have adequate experience and they have put in adequate service.
All right, General Malik, thank you for joining us and sharing your views on, this big story. Ashwarya Bhatti, thank you for taking up this case and actually taking it all the way to the Supreme Court. We hope the change comes along and the government changes its mind. If you hear also what former Indian Army chief is telling us right now, that some of the arguments that are being presented here in this government note to the court really hold, there is no value. They don't have any merit to them. Perhaps then at some bureaucratic level, somebody thought this can be a good rationale to give, that women have additional challenges of bearing child, of motherhood, which is why they should not be given commanding positions. The case continues. We will wait and watch what the Supreme Court decides, but I think it is time, just like in every other part of our society, even in the forces, to set aside this ladki hai mindset and say if women are in the forces, if they are actually marching forward, shoulder to shoulder with the men in the Air Force, in the Army and the Navy, then there should be no reason why they're not put in commanding positions in those units. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. Completely out of time. Let's take you across to Sanjana Chauhan.